Council.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Wednesday morning, progressives, and yes, all the rest. Welcome to the May 27th edition, 2026, in fact, of Choose Views. 773-763-9278 is our number. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Also broadcasting, as always, now on AM 950 in Minneapolis, AM 1520, and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com and follow me on all the socials. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. And that's where you can get all of our good stuff. Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Patty Vasquez driving you home, and It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, as well as our other great shows and interviews and posts. Make your way over Heartland Signal. Wow. Here are a couple things you guys will dig. And by the way, we're going to be taking calls in the from now until 7. So get your calls in. If you got something to say, if you got to yell at me about something, or you got to talk about something, or you got to bring up a new topic, let us know, because Mike will be getting you guys in line. So give us a call this morning. We want to make sure we budgeted that time today to say, all right, let's get some calls in. But at heartlandsignal.com, there are some great articles that we have there from our digital newsroom. Vivek Ramaswamy vows Medicaid fraud crackdown. But here's the rub. His running mate helped end Ohio's Medicare Oversight Board. So he's vowing to crack down on the thing that his running mate said we don't need anymore. His hypocrisy, guys, it's astonishing. I'm rarely like using the words astonishing and shocked and mean it, but it is kind of astonishing and shocked. I just made up a word. Astonishing and shocked. It's just because I sometimes think he has no or very little self-reflection or like what's going on around him, because he will say something, get on a campaign trail, be on a show, whatever, and he'll say something that fully contradicts something he said not too long ago. It is really like, dude, don't you have some people around you? Maybe that's that billionaire money, guys, and they just don't have to. He's like, you know what? I don't care. If I don't win, whatever, I still got my. I think some of it's that, and it creates a certain amount of lack of awareness. Not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but man, Illinois has some great representatives in the House, on our state legislature, and in the House, U.S. Representative Delia Ramirez from here in Illinois offers condolences to victims of anti-Muslim xenophobic violence, honoring Wadi Alafayo and condemning the hate-driven attacks that have been taking place, not just here in Illinois, but around the country. So you get a little bit more information from that. And then up in Minnesota, a shout out, Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty and Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison they're announcing charges against an ICE agent. You'll have to go check out the article to get more information on that. It's pretty powerful. So make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to check out the work that we do there and what's happening with our folks who spend a great amount of time finding out the current and most important things that are going on in these heartland states that we live in. On today's show, as I said, we'll be taking your calls now until 7 o'clock, so let's try to get you guys in with whatever you want to talk about. And then in the 7 o'clock hour, our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 will be with us, and he and I will chop it up on a couple of different items. We'll talk a little bit about Israel. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening with the menace in the White House. And we'll talk a little bit about something that Hawaii is doing that I think should be spread more joyously throughout the rest of the country. You'll see what I'm talking about when we have Kurt on at 7. And then in the 7:30 hour, if you guys are concerned about election security and election rightness and voting, we'll be talking with Nathan Taylor, who's with the Election Truth Alliance. And I know he'll have some things to say in that space. So looking forward to having him on in the show. All right. Question of the day. And then I've got a little bit of a homework assignment. Not too tough. It's kind of an open book homework assignment or open book test. Maybe it's open books are tests, not homework assignments. But you can use your homework to help with your open book test. There you go. Whew, I just say myself. This is a question regarding the slush fund. With the Trump slush fund, who are some of the people that you want to see apply and take advantage of the weaponization of the government on them? So I'll repeat this. With the Trump slush fund, who are some of the people you want to see apply and be able to take advantage of how the government's weaponized itself against them, certain citizens? And I'll throw out a couple of names that I came up with. You guys know recently that Kilmar Garcia was found to be innocent or found not to be who the government went after him and saying that he was. James Comey, whether you love him or hate him because of 2016, going after somebody in terms of the weaponization, we got to talk about that. And another one is Letitia James in New York. Those are three that came to mind when I thought about this question. So who are some folks that you'd like to see be able to apply for this weaponization of the government money? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about that. You can call and tell us. You can send me a text. You can email me. And by all means, you can go to our Facebook page and let us know your thoughts there. Leave your thoughts and comments there. But before we go to this break, and we'll slip into it a little bit earlier, because I've got a couple things I want to cover. Here's the homework assignment, and if you can call it that. So often we hear the comment about, and I criticize our Democratic Party, I say this all the time, to strengthen us, to make us better. Any team that runs around thinking that they're perfect and they got it all right doesn't win championships. That's just the way we have to look at it. But we do it with the goal of getting better and stronger to win. So let me be clear for those who are out there keyboard warring about, choose off to the Democrats. And no, I'm not whining. I want us to be a stronger team. I want us to win every season, to be honest with you. I don't want to see this yo-yo with this time, Henry. We win back the House and maybe get the Senate, and then we poo-poo around and don't do anything in the next 2 years. And then people don't show up in the general, and J.D. Vance is our next president. I don't want that. I might move to Canada, y'all. If J.D. Vance, Mike, is our president, I might be moving to Canada. Okay, now that because we know he's going to be a puppet for Peter Thiel and a puppet for Alex Karp and all the rest of the tech boys. So that being said, we want to critique and strengthen our team. That's what we're all about. So we have to be all about. And do it with a measure of decency and respect to those who hold the office and those that are running. But not to the point where we cut into the muscle. And there are some people out there that are criticizing Democrats to the point where they're cutting into the muscle, and I don't agree with that. But I do believe we have to look at where we are and say, all right, well, where do we need to make some changes and improve our team? But one of the things that we all have to agree on, and I've said this so many times as well, is that everything that is happening and being brought to us on a federal and on a state level, and in many cases locally, and everything that's not being done to fix it is in the laps of the Republican Party. So all this federal garbage that we're all having to endure, from tariffs to the ugly bill to ACA subsidies, to the war, to folks being snatched and grabbed and killed by ICE, all of that is under a Republican White House, administration, cabinet, House and Senate, state legislatures. Look at Indiana as a good example. And even in some local communities, some cities. That's all, and let me be clear, at the hands of the Republican Party, period. It just is, y'all. So, how about, as a homework assignment, you guys call these two phone numbers. The first one is, and I'll repeat it later if you need it, 202-225-2777. You know whose phone number that is? That's the phone number of the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. How about we all start a campaign of, on a weekly basis, calling him and telling him to straighten up and fly right and stand up to the president? Just do it once a week. Imagine if thousands of us across the country were to make that phone call every week. Once a week. Pick your day. Make that call. Leave a message. Or if you talk to someone, give them the business. 202-225-2777. That's Mike Johnson's phone number. The other phone number I'm going to give you is 202-224-2321. And maybe we can put those up on the site, Mike, or whatever creative thing you come up with. Again, 202-224-2321. Who is that? That's the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune. Every week, let's call him up and say, why don't you grow a spine? You and Mike need to get together and fuse some spines together and stop this madness from y'all's president. How about that? I think that's a good idea. We take an active role in this. Let's call them every week. Thousands of people across the country calling their office. You want something to do? Call those numbers. We'll post them as best we can. Let's take a quick break, Henry. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-730-7788. 800-730-7788. Again, that's 800-730-7788.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Smooth accelerators. When that light turns green, you're off. Like a warm knife through firm butter. Going from 0 to the speed limit in an appropriate amount of time. Sure, your car has horsepower, but your horses prance around as silky smooth as your right foot. Fancy Prancerton. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
I thought it was just stress. But then it felt like I was stuck in a state of panic, obsessed with worry that something bad would happen if I didn't complete endless rituals. I couldn't solve this on my own. So I made the call. I found a doctor who diagnosed me with OCD. Now I'm able to live more in the present.
Mental health care works when you make the call. Visit mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
It's Choose Views where we read more than just the headline. Now here's your host, Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Real quick, I'm going to try to respond to some of the things that we've been receiving. This was actually from yesterday's question. The question that I threw out yesterday was the next person to leave the administration. I asked the question about who was going to be next, with Tulsi going and Pam and Christie going. One of the things that I didn't want to forget, someone said yesterday that they think that the next person is going to be Linda McMahon, who is I hadn't thought of that. So yeah, we got that text yesterday. I forgot to read it, so sorry about that, guys. And then the slush fund recipients. This is coming from one of our listeners here in Illinois. Hunter Biden, James Comey. Yeah, so Hunter Biden for sure. But yeah, because they definitely, one could say if it was about weaponization. But there you go. All right, guys, a couple of quick Choose Views news items on this May 27, 2026. Oil prices climb on the renewed hostilities that took place over the weekend around the Straits of Hormuz. Oil pushed back towards $100 a barrel yesterday after the strikes on Iranian boats and missile launchers prompted retaliatory attacks that threatened this fragile already peace process. The two sides are continuing negotiations to reopen the Straits, which controls 20% of the world's oil and liquefied gas shipments. Eli Lilly is looking to buy the other vaccine makers for nearly $4 billion. They're going to acquire 3 vaccine makers for nearly that amount, according to the Wall Street Journal. The pharmaceutical giant confirmed to the paper that it's agreed to buy Curevo, Limatech Biologics, and Vaccine Co. This makes, the first one makes shingles vaccines, and the second makes and treats bacteriological pathogens. So Eli Lilly has been on a buying spree and looks to expand beyond just the blockbuster weight loss drugs into treatments for cancer, sleep disorders, and autoimmune disease. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, became the latest artificial intelligence heavyweight to push back against the narrative that AI productivity gains are making tech layoffs inevitable, calling the explanation lazy. I don't know about that. Speaking to Singapore's channel News Asia, Wang said, CEOs who blame layoffs on AI are scaring people, and that's irresponsible. I would agree with that. Adding, AI has just arrived. How is it possible they're already losing jobs? His words come a week after the CEO of Google's DeepMind expressed similar sentiments, saying AI-driven developer layoffs reflect a lack of imagination from some of the employers. That's an interesting conversation. The Indy 500 champ, Rosenqvist, earns a record $4.34 million payday. Last week's Indianapolis 500 was one for the record books in quite a few different ways. Not only did the speediest driver win the marquee event by the slimmest margin, 0.02 seconds, his payday was the largest in race history, for those of you who are race fans and those who are NBA basketball fans. This is kind of a big deal. The New York Knicks returned to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. That's almost a generation ago. One of the final teams is set, of course, the New York Knicks. They kind of ran the tables on the Cleveland Cavaliers. 4 straight games. The Knicks swept the Cavs behind Eastern Conference Finals Jalen Brunson, whose shot making and bravado have New York believing it could end an even more significant drought by winning its first title since 1973. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of people out there who are pulling for the Knicks because of that very thing. They may not like the Knicks. Mike's giving them a thumbs down. But a lot of people who are old school basketball fans and understand the history of the Knicks in basketball, they're kind of pulling for them. And who could be upset with the fact that the great actress Mariska Hargitay shows up like on the regular to give hugs to Jalen Brunson? I mean, who's gonna argue over that? I mean, let's be honest. Sergeant Benson? I mean, come on, y'all. She's a legend. Tell me, Mike, tell me she shows up here at CPT and you're not a little nervous. Okay, fine. And if Brunson's in tow, okay, come on. All right, just a little bit of fun with what's happening with the Knicks, and I think it's kind of a cool thing to see that historical team and franchise make it to the finals. Whether they win or not is another story, but I always can lean in a little bit on sports and the history and how that impacts us all. All right, guys, a couple of quick items on what's happening here at WCPT. Live, local, and progressive. Joan Esposito will be joined by Christopher Armitage, author of the Existential Republic newsletter on Substack, retired Army Major General Randy Manner. And, of course, that's live, local, and progressive weekdays here 2 to 5 on WCPT, heartlandsignal.com, and tune in. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be joined by guest co-host Ken Mejia Beal, and their guests are Angela Cummings, Executive Director of American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, Illinois chapter, talking about Illinois construction hike and hope for happening on June 13th in Downers Grove and Grafton, Illinois. And car guy Tom Appel, host of the Consumer Guide Car Stuff podcast. That's Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 here on WCPT AM 820, the Heartland Signal website. Tune in, YouTube, and Facebook. And then tomorrow on Choose Views, my guests include Michigan State Senator Chedrick Green, Lindsay Owens, Executive Director of the economic think tank Groundwork Collective, and author of the forthcoming book, Gouged, The End of a Fair Price and What That Means to Your Wallet. Scott Perriman will also be with us, President and CEO of Democracy Forward. So there's a few updates, guys, of what's going on here at WCPT and some things that are happening around the world that we live in. Not bad. Busy morning. One of the other big updates, we were talking about Kilmar Garcia a moment ago. Something else that this is really more of a Chicago update, local update. Ricardo Hernandez Navarrete, who is a Mather High School student and soccer player, was released from immigration custody yesterday. And his mother, Liliana, was released last week. And this is a big deal because this is a CPS student who had been detained. This goes back to, I believe, March by ICE. And a judge ordered that his mother and he himself and 16 other people be released. And it's been frustrating for that family, but a sense of relief for them as well that they have been able to get back to their lives. So they were released from an immigration detention center, and this judge looked at all the information, all the details around them being, I'm going to call it captured, and decided to reset the narrative there. So kudos to the judge for looking at the letter of the law and doing what's the right thing. When we're going to take a break in a second, and when we come back from the break, I've got a few news items that current events, you could call them, that you guys will be interested in hearing about, I think. But just to come back to that point again about ICE, you heard last week, if you guys were listening to the segment that we did with Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, one of the things that she said that definitely grabbed my attention is that ICE is still doing a lot of harm. They're just not getting the publicity that they were getting back at the beginning of the year. So when we hear stories like this, we have to feel good about the fact that some people are being released from custody that probably shouldn't be there in the first place based on what they said, meaning ICE they were all about. Criminals. This is a 16-year-old young man who's a great soccer player, well-loved in the community, all those things that we say check the boxes, and ICE decided to grab him. I mean, who's he harming? If ICE is afraid of some young man like that, then, this goes back to Kate's point about we have problems in a big way. Oh, by the way, 202-224-2321. That's John Thune's phone number. Call his behind. And the other one is, 202-225-2777. That's Mikey Johnson's number. Give those two fellows a call and say, do your damn job or go home. We're going to go to a break, guys. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. And now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we'll be ready to take your calls, and I'm going to bring a couple of hot news items to you. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back. Hey Progressives, it's Richard Chew, host of Chew's Views weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. Central. We're all anxious for the 2026 midterm election to arrive so we can restore some sanity and much needed oversight to our government. In fact, it's the most important midterm election in American history, and Chew's Views will be in the thick of it, bringing you candidate interviews on a regular basis. I'll be talking to Democratic Party hopefuls running for House and Senate at the federal and state level, as well as candidates for governor and other state and local offices.
I am in love with our ability to fight for our rights, to fight for our future, to fight for our freedoms, to fight as our ancestors fought. It's just our moment. This is just our time to stand up and to speak up. We can't give up on this.
If you miss any of the interviews live, you'll be able to find them all on WCPT's Candidate Interviews page at heartlandsignal.com/candidates. That's Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years.
Cancer affects all of us. Today alone, 5,370 people in the United States will be diagnosed with cancer. That's why Stand Up to Cancer funds and develops the newest and most promising cancer treatments to help patients today. Stand Up to Cancer wants to provide you with every opportunity to join in this mission. By donating your home, land, or commercial property, you can help Stand Up to Cancer fund innovative cancer research. Donating eases the stress associated with selling a home and can also help lead to the next breakthrough in cancer prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. Stand Up to Cancer makes the process easy, and it may be tax deductible. It will take all of us standing up together to put an end to cancer as we know it. Help us save lives right now. Your home or property could hold the key to the next breakthrough in cancer research. Visit standuptocancer.org/giveproperty to learn more.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 58. By Thursday, we'll see sunshine, a high of 71 degrees. Friday, plenty of blue skies and sun, a high of 83. Saturday, sunshine, high of 78 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 63.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Don't hit that snooze button. It's time for Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Yesterday's question about who would be the next Trump cabinet member to fall. And I was saying, going back to a few weeks ago, after Congresswoman Kelly said that Christie needs to go. Christie's gone. Kudos to Congresswoman Kelly for taking the lead on that. Pam Bondi, I said that, it looks as though the women were being set up for failure because of how Trump thinks about women. We know that. Let's not, that sound like we're being disrespectful, but we know how he thinks. He's shown us. But some of the comments that we got on Facebook, one comes from Frank, says, any females left? There are a couple, Frank. Leno says Hegseth in terms of the next one to go. And this comes from Paul. Close your eyes and throw a dart. One is as bad as the other. That I would agree with. So right on point. And then Tom says, hopefully Trump himself. I couldn't agree any more with all of you for those great Facebook posts. So thank you for that. Today's question definitely has got our folks. We got smart people that listen to our shows and follow us. This is coming from Cindy, our Cindy in Michigan. Thank you for the homework assignment. I'll do some extra credit. This is too funny. This is totally Cindy. This is a Heartland Midwestern person's way of being. Check this out. I'll do some extra credit and look up the local office of Mike Johnson in Louisiana and call there as well. No abusive language, of course. It's counterproductive. and then you would end up flunking me. Right on, Cindy. Yes, call the local office. That is an extra credit thing to do. So we'll get you to the front of the classroom on that one. Let you out of class early. Let's see what else we got. Nancy says, I believe that this is on the question of the question of the day about recipients of the slush fund for weaponizations. Nancy says, I believe that the police who had to defend the Capitol on January 6, 2021, should be able to apply for funds from the slush funds. Also, I wouldn't blame Barack and Michelle Obama having an opportunity to apply for the money. They have been belittled by Trump. I don't know if, and Trump did attempt at one point. He said he was going to arrest Barack Obama or have him arrested. He did say that. So, okay, weaponization. Trump constantly belittles President Obama's presidency. Almost sure that the Obamas would certainly donate the money to support those that are in need. I agree with you on that. Great comments, you guys. Keep them coming because that's if it's going to be a fund for people who've been the victims of the weaponization of the government, the federal government, then yeah, I think we want to find out who you guys think it should be. All right. I said I was going to drop a couple of news items on you guys that you may not have heard about in the last 24 to 36 hours, but here we go. So sometimes when you poke the bear or you kick the bear or the hornet's nest or whatever, it could come back and bite you in the behind. And some people kind of speculated last week that this might happen or a version of this might happen. What am I talking about? This is breaking news late yesterday afternoon. Thomas Massie, who you guys know, lost last week in his race, the primary race for Congress in Kentucky. Thomas Massie drops massive Melania Epstein bombshell and claims that she's hiding evidence about Epstein's sex trafficking network. Now, whether it's true or not, or to what extent it's true or not, the fact that he's seen the Epstein files, y'all, and that he would even go here, that's his. So just check this out for a second. Of all the things that Massie could probably do or say about Trump, the first thing that he goes after is this. That tells you that it's probably a lot more true than it's not true. He didn't wait and say, let me try 3 things and see if that's going to have any impact. He went right after this thing that he has been very, dogged on releasing the entire unredacted files. So the first place he goes is that Melania is hiding evidence. That's the part there. So her involvement in any abuse of young girls or children isn't where he went. He didn't say Melania is also, like Ghislaine Maxwell. He said she's hiding evidence. So let me tell you why that's important. In my observation, from a legal standpoint and from a potential congressional hearing standpoint. Let's just say that that's true. The Republicans aren't going to do anything with it between now and the midterms. But, oh, boy, if there's some smoke here and there's more than smoke and there's fire, this is where the Democrats are going to be able to go after evidence seek that evidence that she may be hiding by calling her in front of Congress once the Democrats have the gavel again. And honestly, for the sake of those now women, but once were children, young girls, for the sake of them as survivors, I believe that needs to happen. Democrats have the stomach to do the right thing for those now grown women. This is what I say when I say the Democrats have got to walk in ready to deal. They got to walk in with sledgehammers and ready to knock some stuff over because this is part of it. This is one of the things in many ways that got Massie, quote unquote, on the bad side of Trump. I think every side of Trump is bad, but there you go. So in a remarkable live interview on NBC, Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky pointed a finger at Melania Trump regarding the Epstein Files scandal, implying she knows much more than she's letting on and should be questioned to uncover the truth. When asked about the influential figures and linked to the files, if you guys remember, he talked to Todd Blanche, FBI Director Kash Patel. He said they essentially lying and claiming that there's no one else in the files. Massie says even Melania doesn't buy that. So I'm going to leave that right there, only because we'll come back to it at another time in the future, particularly if there's more than smoke in this bundle of wood. Here's another one. Okay, so you guys know that down in Texas, that last night Ken Paxton won the primary against John Cornyn. So the question is, what does that represent? What does that mean? A lot of people who are the political analysts of this situation down in Texas have said that the easier person to beat for James Tallarico would be Paxton because of the fact that Paxton has so much baggage. Obviously, Trump endorsed Paxton, but at this point, it's over with. I mean, he's the nominee for the Republicans, and I've said that if he is the one with more baggage and we can tag a lot of things to him, then Democrats need to be about doing that. But this is the part that's got Republicans worried. Republicans are worried because they feel as though the big issue that's going to take place here is that the money that's going to have to be spent on this race is going to take away from their ability to hold seats in other areas and to try to be competitive in other areas like Michigan, for example, where they've got Mike Rogers running against, our three, good candidates. And the same thing in North Carolina and a couple other places. Ohio, for example, with Sherrod Brown. So the Republicans feel as though Trump putting his thumb on the scale because he stopped liking Cornyn is now going to create a problem for them financially because they're going to have to unload a lot of money into this race to keep that seat. And it'll be interesting to see. And this is where I'm darn near begging Texas voters. I heard something that just, it made me pause. Yesterday, I heard it from two different people. Day before yesterday and yesterday. I heard, and I actually 3 times, and I heard it again last week. So 3 times I've heard this. And what is it? Folks down in Texas are being interviewed by various news outlets, MS Now and others. And from 3 different reporters, from 3 different outlets, they interviewed people who were voting in the primary, Cornyn and Paxton. And each of the people that were interviewed were asked a question that was pretty much similar in part A and part B of it. That question being, how has Donald Trump impacted your decision on who you're voting for? Is it going to be Cornyn or is it going to be Paxton? And also, how does your faith play into this current primary? So this is what I found interesting. Not disturbing, but interesting and real telling. Each of these folks, and obviously this is an extraordinarily small subset, but it's a peek into where people are, I think, in the Republican Party from a voter standpoint. This is why I put a lot of this hell that we're going through on the Republican voters. They said that Donald Trump may help them make their decision. If Donald Trump is for Paxton, then I'm for Paxton. And I'm going to paraphrase here just to keep it simple as best I can. All 3 of these people said these are white, Texans that said, I'm voting for Paxton because Donald Trump basically said that that's who I should vote for. The other part of the question and coverage was that they also wove into their answer that they believed that Donald Trump was a, quote, man of God, or that God had directed Donald Trump to be their leader. And as a de facto Jesus to them, that's why they were voting for Paxton. And one of the reporters asked the question, so you realize that that person, Donald Trump, 3 times married, so at least twice in each of those cases, adultery was committed, and that Paxton has some of the same stuff going on in his world, and his wife divorced him because of similar issues. These same folks, and from polling, have said that they're voting in this way because things have been pretty okay financially in Texas for them. And as long as those things continue to be the case, they were okay with that because their financial lives had not been disrupted. But what about the spiritual side? What about the belief side? What about we're godly people side? So you're willing to push that aside and say, as long as my money's right, I can look past the adultery and the other bad behavior that supposedly lines me up with being a good Christian or a good believer. It's hypocrisy. It just is. So I'm hoping that enough Texans step up and say, that's not what I believe in. And that Paxton's baggage, it's not worthy of my vote in the general election, and that they vote for Tallarico, who is the person that stood the right way from all that we know about his faith and taking care of the least among us when it comes to affordability. That's my hope. Let's take a quick break, guys. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
We're joined by Congressman Mike Quigley.
When I got sworn in 16 years ago, the first person that came up to me, of all things, was a Republican named Mark Kirk, who later became our senator. And he did give good advice. He said, the only thing that gets done here is when we meet in the middle. So there's a lot of truth to that. But, you know, what I tell folks who are looking from afar, not looking at what this president's doing, moving us toward more of an autocracy, is you meet in the middle when the middle is reasonable, right? And you both benefit. That's a two-party democracy at work. But when one side takes the most extreme positions, it's not my job to go way out there to meet them.
Yeah.
They have to come back to the norm.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
People don't realize that glaucoma is one of the leading causes of blindness.
Because there are often no early symptoms, nearly half of those with glaucoma may not even know they have it until vision loss has occurred.
I was diagnosed with normal tension glaucoma in July of 2020. And what we found out at that point was I had already lost 40% of my sight. You think it only affects people that are, 75 or older, retired, grandparents, and that's not the reality of it.
I didn't think at all glaucoma was going to affect me because I didn't know of anyone that had glaucoma, no one in my family. When you have glaucoma, you can't get back that sight that you lost. And so early detection and treatment is vitally, vitally important.
Don't miss life's most beautiful moments. Schedule an eye exam today.
National Glaucoma Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Learn how to protect your sight at stopglaucoma.org.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Mike's on, truth's out. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Chew's Views, and I'm Richard Chew. Here's another comment, comes from our good friend Jill in Evanston. How about telling Johnson, if Congress can't live on $174,000 a year, that would be $83.65 an hour if they worked a 40-hour week. Then the minimum wage should be at least $84 an hour. Right on, Jill, since we still have to pay for insurance. If he said that his family can't live on that. These guys are really tone deaf. Yeah, good point, Joe. Absolutely good point. Let's see what else we got here. Basically, release the Epstein files coming from Lois and do it now, Democrats, once we have the gavel back. I'm kind of paraphrasing something of what she says because she worries that some of the people who are foes of 47 may become victims or potentially harm heap their way because of them pushing back on what 47 is doing. I agree with you, Lois. We want to make sure that those people, whether it's, I don't care, Republican or Democrat, nobody should be in the situation where speaking the truth is going to cause them any danger. But what we can do in the meantime is we can call 202-224-2321. John Thune, Senate Majority Leader. Mike Johnson, 202-225-2777. And again, these guys are the majority leaders, so that garbage around, just be prepared. If you call those numbers and people say, well, you're not from the district, say that I'm not calling from as it relates to the district or the state. I'm calling because they are the majority leaders of the people's house. Houses, chambers. Let that person on the other end of the line that may answer the phone, let them know that. They'll try to tell you, I'm betting money, that they're going to try to tell you, well, we can't take calls from people that are not part of the representative district. I'm calling the Washington, D.C. office because they are the majority leaders. So they represent the people. So you're going to take my call. You're going to take my message. And you're going to let John and Mikey know that they should be doing their job, and that's putting the brakes on this president. So there you go. All right. We've been talking about voting for a long time, but in the last 2 weeks, particularly since the Supreme Court, 6 members of the Supreme Court decided that they wanted to wreak havoc on decades of hard work by people specifically that look like me and many, many others that don't. But always understand that the benefactors of fair, equitable voting is all of America. I'm a believer in that, knowing that the group, the community, the citizens that have been harmed the most by voter gerrymandering and disenfranchisement have been black folks in this country. That's a fact. We don't have to argue about that. Don't get into the, yeah, but others too. We already know that, okay? But some good things have happened, some good news, I guess we could call it that. As reported from Politico, Jim Clyburn's seat survives the midterms as South Carolina Republicans buck the Trump redistricting. South Carolina Republicans defied Donald Trump and blocked the redistricting measure that would have drawn out the state's lone Democrat, Jim Clyburn, who happens to be African American. The move Tuesday all but kills their chances of flipping that seat in 2026. It's possible the GOP will still draw out Clyburn before 2028. A procedural vote to end the debate on the map early, before the voting took place, failed in the Senate 24-20, with 12 Republicans joining all Democrats. The state's Senate then voted to adjourn until June 10th, effectively ending any hope of redistricting before the midterms. Now, I'm gonna put my thumb on the scale, I guess you could call it that. I don't think that they're going to take the risk of trying to change and snatch that seat going into 2028. And here's one of the reasons why I think that they're going to be careful in that space, because now they have precedent that the state legislature said no. So this is one of those things that could go to the next level of court jurisdiction, because the state legislature voted and said, no, we're not going to do this. And then to do it in a general election year would clearly be something that the Supreme Court would want to weigh in on, at least based on their history. So we'll see. And I know that I don't have a lot of faith in the 6 SCOTUS members, or whatever we want to call them. It's a massive pivot just 2 weeks ago when, as you guys heard me say this, both the governor and the lieutenant governor were of the mindset that they wanted to do by any means necessary to protect us from those people. But the state legislature said no. I don't know what was in the minds of those 12 Republican state senators, but I won't say it doesn't matter, but at this point, the end result is that they decided that wasn't the smart thing to do. I think there's probably some political preservation in their thinking. I could be wrong. And in another battle in this conversation, federal court, this is also breaking news late yesterday from Politico. Federal court blocks Alabama's midterm gerrymandering plan, another blow for Republicans. And this is in Alabama. They blocked the Republicans from implementing their preferred House map ahead of this year's midterms, potentially preventing Republicans from picking up an additional seat via gerrymandering. Following the Supreme Court's Voting Rights Act rule earlier, Alabama sought to revert to the 2023 map with only one Democratic-leaning district that had previously been blocked in court. But a 3-judge panel yesterday prevented the state from using that map, mandating that Alabama use a map that has 2 majority black, blue-leaning seats. Ultimately, quote, we cannot see our way clear to requiring Alabamians to cast their votes in the 2026 elections under a districting plan tainted by intentional race-based discrimination. That's what the panel wrote in their decision. Republicans are likely to appeal the decision, sending it back to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court earlier this month, as you know, allowed Alabama to proceed with redistricting, kicking the process back down to the lower court. So this goes back to what I said when people got upset about the Supreme Court giving Trump immunity. I said then, I've said it again since then, it was really about giving themselves more power. And this is an example of that. But Alabama's Supreme Court said, right now, we got to stick with what we've had. It's clearly racially based, and we're not going to allow that to happen. So kudos to the folks that really did read the letter of the law. See, when judges really read the letter of the law and they don't interpret, that's when things get done the right way. Look at the historicals in that. That's where this whole conversation around advocate or activists, I should say, judges came, because judges started to interpret, which means that they're putting their own mindset into that, interpreting it versus, and I know the law is oftentimes interpreted, but when you read the letter of the law and apply it to a situation, it's pretty clear. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from our folks and friends down in Warren County, North Carolina, and our folks up north at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. When we come back, we'll be talking with our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
Amazon Business. Discover smart business buying, where unmatched selection meets AI-driven tools to simplify complex processes, so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Former President Joe Biden is suing the Justice Department in an effort to block the release of audio recordings and transcripts of his interview with a ghostwriter. These were obtained by the special counsel who investigated his handling of classified documents. Biden's lawyers say the department had previously argued that they were exempt from disclosure under the public records law. AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on the number of suicides among people being held in ICE detention.
An Associated Press investigation has found that at least 10 people in ICE detention, all men, have killed themselves since President Donald Trump took office in January 2025. Dr. Sanjay Basu, an epidemiologist with the University of California, San Francisco, co-wrote a study documenting the increase in deaths among ICE detainees.
Something is going profoundly wrong if that many suicides are occurring as a proportion of people.
Brian Rayo Garzon was the first of those 10 deaths. On his fourth day of isolation while suffering from COVID in a Missouri jail, he was found unconscious in his cell. He had written a note pleading to talk with his mother. His mom, Adriana Garzon, says he asked for psychological help. They didn't give it to him. To me, that's negligence. I'm Donna Warder.
Authorities have confirmed that one person has died and 9 others remain unaccounted for after a chemical tank imploded at a pulp and paper mill in Washington state. 9 others were also injured in yesterday's spill, some severely. Emergency responders plan to resume recovery efforts at Nippon Dynawave Packaging Company in Longview this morning. Shares were mostly higher in Europe and Asia. Oil prices fell after the U.S. stock market rose to more records. This is AP News. Global soccer fans are bracing for high U.S. transportation costs during next month's World Cup. Correspondent Gethin Kulbal has more.
Fans heading to the World Cup in the U.S. are facing a new sort of sticker shock: mass transit. In New Jersey and Massachusetts, some train fares tied to matches will cost fans far more than normal NFL game day trips. That is drawing criticism from international fans used to free transit at past World Cups. Some supporters are now organizing their own transportation to these stadiums, with some groups even renting buses for about half the official price. Transit experts say the high cost could further hurt the United States' image with foreign visitors. I'm Gethin Kulbal.
Former Braves third baseman Bob Horner has died at the age of 68. He was the number 1 overall draft pick in 1978 and once hit 4 homers in a game. I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 58. By Thursday, we'll see sunshine, a high of 71 degrees. Friday, plenty of blue skies and sun, a high of 83. Saturday, sunshine, high of 78 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 64.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. The owners of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, Magnum Ice Cream Company, is currently silencing them. Now, why would they silence Ben & Jerry's? Oh yeah, that's right, because they were speaking negatively about the Trump administration and even prevented the company from releasing a flavor titled Peace in Gaza. Ben Cohen, the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's, has started a hashtag Free Ben & Jerry's to get their rights to speech back. Magnum Ice Cream Company owns several brands. So instead of talking about the brands that they own, let's talk about some ice cream companies that they don't own that are all for free speech. Johnny Pops, Dove Ice Cream, Tillamook, Häagen-Dazs. And for those of you who prefer frozen yogurt, Stonyfield. And if you still want to give Ben & Jerry's a chance, that's up to you. But make sure you only buy Ben & Jerry's and none of the other brands owned by Magnum Ice Cream Company. So maybe, just maybe, then they'll realize that people like their ice cream without a side of fashion. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Debunking the lies your uncle saw on Facebook. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is Chew's Views, and I'm Richard Chew. It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock in the Midwest, or depending on where you are in the Midwest, if you're part of the heartland part of Indiana or Michigan or Pennsylvania, it's an hour later. But either way, it's time for me to hang out with our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 with his dark yarn ball cap on this morning. Good morning, Kurt, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. How are you? It's 8 o'clock here, buddy.
That's right. I'm doing great, man. Good to see you. Glad you're well.
Glad to see you.
How was your Memorial Day weekend? I hope you guys were good and safe and healthy.
Oh yeah, we my wife took a 4-day weekend. She took Thursday and Friday off, or 5-day weekend, I should say. And,
yeah.
So we finally got some time to spend together and did some things. And of course, she had a list, about this big for me to work on.
Was it yard work and cutting grass and weeding and all of that?
No. Those are weekly duties that I have to do. This was,
I have to tease your brother about that because I know how you are about that.
Yeah.
So.
And it's crazy. I hate yard work, but our yard is really
it's probably spot on.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
that's the thing. It's the cover of a magazine. Good.
Yeah, it's one of the nicest ones on the block, actually. So
yeah,
there you go.
Isn't that crazy? The thing, the thing that we hate to do. We hated running line drills in basketball practice, but boy, did it make us pretty agile on the court. I mean,
absolutely.
It's the crazy thing about who we are as human beings. Isn't that something else, man?
Well, I think it just goes to, what we were taught as children, that if we're going to do something, do it. If you're not, don't do it.
Don't do it.
So that's the way I've always been. So
yeah,
there you go.
Well, let me ask you this question. You probably heard me talk about this a little bit earlier about Thomas Massie dropping this massive Melania Trump knows more, or she's actually hiding evidence about the Epstein sex trafficking network. I mean, you and I are two respecting and respectable guys. And, we both have said for the longest time, there's certain folks you just don't mess with. And it's not us being sexist or, male dominant, whatever. It's just, you don't mess with kids and you don't mess with women. And you don't mess with somebody that's, that is where you take advantage of folks. You just don't do that. So the Epstein files and Epstein situation and all the dotted lines, we know that they're there. But the fact that Massie, as I said, they kicked the hornet's nest. He's now saying, and he did it in an interview, saying she knows a lot more. In fact, she's hiding evidence. Those are dangerous words, hiding evidence. Kurt, what are your thoughts there?
Well, first off, to address what you first said, I'm not an alpha male. I never have claimed to be, and guys who use that term just are bonkers to me.
They are.
So,
agreed.
Yeah. So I'm look. Am I a Massie fan? No. He virtually votes against everything that I believe in.
Yeah. And has voted that way. His record, Don't be
fooled. His record
fooled.
shows that. But I have had much respect for him for the way. There's two things about him. He does not take AIPAC funding at all, and he has spoken out against the Epstein files from the very get-go. And this guy is someone they shouldn't have messed with. They've opened up a can of worms here. And there's a couple things I want to say about it. I appreciate him doing this. Kudos to him. I have much respect for him for doing this. I still probably wouldn't vote for him if it came to, that choice, but I appreciate what he's doing. And this is going to rub some feathers. Why is it a Republican who is pushing this the hardest out there? Not saying that there are not some Democrats that are pushing this, but there are Democrats that have had their eyes on the Epstein files too, that they were allowed to read through.
You mean that have said that Melania is hiding information, or that they're leaning hard on the files being released?
Why aren't they coming out? Why haven't we heard this before? Why has this not come out?
No, I want to be specific here. You mean that Melania is hiding evidence?
That or any of it?
Well,
I mean, they're just not hitting it.
I got to pull you back on that, because I would say that Jamie Raskin has probably been yelling the loudest in terms of Democrats.
Well, he has.
I
said there were some Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a number of Democrats that have said that that's why I wanted to zero in on the Melania piece, because what I was saying is he went right after a key source. So that to that point, I'm with you. I think more Democrats should have said long before this. Many others. I mean, we could lean on Democrats, Republicans, or Independents and say all of y'all should be leaning in. But I think that Melania, the way that this is being presented, she's hiding evidence. That's a culpable crime. So, I mean,
it's quite obvious to all of us who have paid attention to the Epstein files, who have dug into them and have read them. And look, when you read court documents or trial notes or whatever, they're not they're not easy reads, and they're not fun to read. Okay, they are not. They're boring, and a lot of this, especially with the way they have redacted them, they're very hard to understand. But if you read them enough, and if you look at them enough, you can kind of figure out who they're talking about.
Yep.
I took part in a 24-hour reading that Eliza Orlins had last week, and I was sent the documents that I was going to read during my half hour, and I started reading them, and I figured out this was about Acosta, that they were taking a statement from Acosta. I figured that out just by the information that was in there, even that's redacted, so you can understand this. But people that have a disconnect to this, and I mean, come on, look, MAGA
explain who I know who it is, but explain who Acosta is so that people understand.
Well, he was one of the major players. I think it was was he the DA of Southern?
He was
Florida district.
He was a Florida district attorney at the time, right?
Right. When the original case came out in 2007, and
he's the one that got the sweetheart deal from Pam Bondi.
When the sweetheart deal came up, he was all part of that. He was the one that allowed Jeff to go home,
and have some milk and cookies.
It's just crazy. And then later became part of the Trump's administration, and things like that. So but to your point, you can understand.
But you make a great point in terms of reading these documents. I mean, whether it be the Epstein files or other legal documents. I mean, you've got to take the time. You've got to be patient. You got to be willing to go through with a fine-tooth comb and be willing to reread some things a few times to understand what's being said, particularly when it's one that's evidentiary, because typically it can be a what's the word I'm looking for? It can kind of be like a yo-yo. You're all over, you're bouncing back and forth, or a zigzag line. That's what I'm looking for. You read something and then it takes you here, then something else you read takes you back to where you started from. So it's a lot. But I'm with you on this, Kurt. I'm not down with Thomas Massie based on his voting record at all.
Right.
And the people who have been harmed by his votes historically, if you want to look back on that. But I'm with you on this. In this space, and he shouldn't get a medal for doing it, but he does get the proper due for saying and staying with the fact that, this is something that's been harmful to so many people's lives, and they need to be that needs to be recognized, and they need to be cared for in this space. And if Melania is hiding evidence, then the Democrats have a responsibility when they get the gavel back to drag her behind in, just like Amy McGrath has said about accountability.
They're all holding evidence.
Yeah.
Tom Homan is holding evidence. I mean, anyone.
Yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who is involved in this at all they're withholding evidence. They know what was taking place. They know who the guy was. They know who was involved in this. They know all of these things. Melania and that Zampoli dude and his ex-girlfriend or whatever that he had.
Remember when Melania came? Remember when Melania a few weeks ago came out and gave that little press conference about I know I saw something you posted. I forgot what it was now, but that really lit your butt on fire.
It was like, are you? I mean, but the sad thing is, Richard, is that people believe this crap.
Yeah, man.
People believe them. Or they just ignore. I don't know what it is, and I've given up trying to figure it out. It's just like you were talking about the people that were interviewed in Texas. We got those same kind of people here in Indiana.
Kurt, you and I couldn't watch the news together with anything in our hands. Because I'm telling you, brother, when I saw these people in Texas being interviewed, and then they were twisting themselves into a pretzel about faith and money. And who their candidates are, I was like, you all are a bunch of liars. You're a bunch of pie-faced liars. Hypocrites.
It's like I want to be my grandpa. Hey, son, come over here. I want you to go out and get me a twig out in the yard because I need to switch your behind and make sure you get one that's going to hurt, because if you don't, I'm going to get up and go get it. Don't make, I mean, that's what I want to do to these people. Just smack them upside the head.
I know.
We have our lieutenant governor that came out a day or two ago talking about how Jesus hated people and that he hated Islam. I mean, it's like,
what? I know. I heard that. And when I saw that, I thought, oh,
this guy is so out of touch. They're out of touch.
I feel bad saying it, but Lord have mercy. Kurt, we got to
I know. It's like, whew,
I know.
Man, what are these people drinking? What are they drinking?
That ain't holy water for sure.
And they fall back on religion. That's the killer. That's the thing that just blows me away.
Yeah.
What book are you reading? I mean,
yeah. Let's take a deep breath and let's take a quick break.
Okay.
You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and our good friends at AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I am talking with Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. I'm Richard Chu. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
One in 10 people age 50 and older in the U.S. have early age-related macular degeneration.
Because macular degeneration often has no early symptoms, many don't know they have it until irreversible vision loss has already occurred. Well, when I first found out that I had macular degeneration, it was really scary. I mean, my eyes are my living.
What's most important for me to see? My family, my loved ones, my pickleball game. Everything I do is dependent upon my vision.
Being able to see, be able to spend time with my children, be able to travel is extremely important. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have my vision. Don't miss life's most beautiful moments.
Schedule a comprehensive eye exam to protect your sight.
Macular Degeneration Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Go to stopamd.org to learn more.
After my wife died, I lost myself too. I didn't feel like doing anything or seeing anyone. Then my granddaughter called to say she misses me, and I realized I had to make a change. That's when I made the call. I got referred to a psychiatrist, and she explained depression can happen to anyone. I'm learning that getting help doesn't make me weak. It makes me stronger. Mental health care works when you make the call.
See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops, or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or are covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
may be waking up, but we're still engaged. It's Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I'm Richard Chew. This is Chew's Views, and we're hanging out with our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63 that everybody loves. Everybody's like, man, where's Kurt? When's Kurt going to stick around for 3 hours? Kurt, I'm not joking. People are like, man. So we're figuring, you guys, just so you know, we're figuring that out. So just you know, show up on Wednesdays because Kurt's going to be here. And is
that what brings you to tears off air, bud?
Oh man, no, you do. Like,
I don't know how to take that, but hey, I'd say it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. I think what it is that people, the seriousness of what we're talking about, and it is extraordinarily serious because it's about protecting our country and saving our country from these just craven, MFers.
Well, I'm just
but we're trying to
with you.
we're just trying to bring some humor to this, guys. Yeah. Another one that,
and I have a couple names to add to the list of who needs to apply for.
Go for it. Yeah, come on, man. Who you got?
Jay Moss, Ruby Freeman.
Oh yeah. See that? Okay. I know, but help our listeners know who those folks are. And that is,
well,
boy, you nailed that one.
Jay Moss and her mom, Ruby Freeman, were the poll workers down in Georgia who just came under just some of the most hateful attack of any poll worker, I would say.
Since the 60s,
Yeah.
I mean, they rolled up on her house. Didn't the guy come in, break into her house or something?
Yeah. And it was black people that were attacking them too. That's what was crazy.
Yeah. They drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. But then they were called in the J6 committee and gave their testimonies, and they both broke down in tears. I mean, those two right there, they ought to, I think both of them ought to apply for $500 million each.
Because their lives, both socially, publicly, and economically, were destroyed. And Giuliani was at the tip of the spear of that happening. So
exactly. And the other one is me, because since that occurred, I've been suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and it's affected my life. I have this disease now that everybody's accusing me of. So, January 6th had an effect on me. So I'm going to go online, and if this thing does come, to attrition and it's something you can do, I'm going to go online and
apply for it there.
Apply for money. And I think that's what needs to be done. I think Democrats across the country, because there's only supposed to be 5 people that are going to oversee these. Well, let's flood them with applications so they can't process them properly.
And then show how inefficient they are. We're talking about government efficiency. We can't handle the applications. Well, when you have an organization, maybe you need to have staffing in place to get things done when it's something that the federal government's a part of. Hello, dumb A's.
This whole thing is just a joke, and how it came about, and I mean, it's just crazy.
We're going to talk to Sky Perryman about that tomorrow.
Yeah,
a little bit about it from a legal perspective. Hey man, let me ask you this question. When you and I were growing up and doing the things that we did and being little badass boys and trying to, figure out something else to get the medal with, did you ever have a desire to corner a couple of snakes and wrestle with them with your bare hands and then call me up on the landline and say, hey, future friend, when we get older, what we're going to do is use all this learning and wisdom and knowledge that we heard about as we were growing up and became young men. And if we become a government, a head of a government agency that's about health and human services and making sure people's lives are properly managed from a health perspective, we're going to corner some snakes and pick them up with our bare hands. Y'all know what does anybody know what I'm talking about? I know Kurt does.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Can you believe this fool, RFK Jr.?
I was waiting for him to bite one of their heads off or something.
So, right. Pulling what's his name? Ozzy Osbourne moment.
I mean, he's... that was bizarre. That was bizarre to watch that.
I thought when I saw that, Kurt, here's what I thought. I went, no, so it's more than just worms that have been eating at his brain. It's snakes too.
Yeah.
I mean,
this guy is.
I know.
He fits in though, doesn't he? But it was at Dr. Oz's house, so
I guess Dr. Oz. They want man,
that whole thing, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. No, I'm not a snake fan, so spiders and snakes kind of freak me out. So I never would have done that. But I never had to do anything to prove my manhood in that way.
Yeah,
I proved my manhood by being a good man.
Right.
That's like I mentioned this alpha thing before. Because, I get that a lot with my comments on there. People talking about alpha male and how I'm a beta and all this. And it's just, I just never understood that, where that
just
comes
be
from.
who you are as a guy and you don't have to flaunt like I'm some badass.
But if putting a bunch of steroids in your body and laying underneath a bed,
sunlight,
bed all the time. If that's what makes you an alpha male, well then, wearing orange makeup and hey, then alpha away, dude.
Kurt and I are Snarkfest 101 this morning.
Yeah.
Listen, man, taking on a serious note, I guess you could say, as we kind of wrap up. You saw what Hawaii is doing, right? You and you are a big advocate and pushback on money coming from bad sources in politics and PACs, and you're right there in Indiana. You're dealing with candidates that you're helping to try to get elected and in our own party. But the one thing that the folks in Hawaii did is they just declared war on Citizens United. I promise you, this. And it shouldn't. It's going to fly under the radar because the corporate media does not want this to be talked about. But while
that's because the corporate media is who they are. They're corporate media.
Yeah, and they're benefactors of the lobbyist money that slips through the cracks and makes it to their network. But here's what, just to give you guys this quick bit of information. While the rest of America shrugged, one state finally did something about the billionaires buying our elections. Hawaii just declared war on Citizens United. They are pushing back like nobody's business, guys. Hawaii's legislature and governor have attempted to restore a simple and almost quaint principle. Corporations and the plutocrat class should not possess the unrestricted right to pursue U.S. election outcomes and buy local, state, and federal governments. Every other blue state in the country should be down with doing the same thing. If we have a governor,
it should be pushed.
It should be pushed in every single state. That's every single state, but certainly every single blue state where we've got the governor's mansion and at least the AG and Secretary of State's office. We should be down with doing the same thing that Hawaii did. What are your thoughts, real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kudos to Hawaii, and I'm so happy that somebody is finally acting on this. It's long overdue. The sad thing is that Hawaii has 2 representatives.
Yeah.
Well, they have 2 senators and 2 representatives.
2 House of Representatives.
So they're one of our smaller states, but at least it's a beginning. This is where we began. And, Citizens United basically was a ruling that said corporations were effectively people, and that they should have the right to free speech, and that this is, all part of this whole thing.
Garbage.
And I think at the very beginning, maybe the intentions were somewhat, okay, this might be something we can allow, but it has turned into what we are seeing today.
Yeah. The PACs have expanded as a result of that.
Absolutely.
The dark money PACs have expanded because now that's a corporation that can take advantage of what the Supreme Court's ruling was with regard to Citizens United. It was the roller coaster effect. You got to the top, and now the roller coaster is just running downhill on everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's a great step forward, and I appreciate it. And I hope the momentum is there, and I'm going to be talking about it.
That's why I said
writing a Substack and stuff myself about it, because I think it needs to be out there and people need to hear about it. The other thing that's kind of flying under the radar is, and if I get his name wrong, it's Cohen from Tennessee, who's retiring.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Cohen.
Yeah.
Okay. He filed 10 letters of impeachment or 10 issues, or I'm losing the word right here, but he filed against impeachment against John Roberts.
Yeah, grievances against the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Right. Letters of, so that's another thing that needs to be talked about. This needs to happen. We haven't impeached a justice since the 90s or 80s. I think.
80s. That's what we do
80s,
here.
okay.
Is you and I, we talk about it, but we got to run.
Yeah, I know.
All right, man. Good to see you. Good to hear your voice.
Buddy.
Good to chop it up with you. We will talk to you again next week. Be safe, and good luck with all your podcast stuff this week.
As always, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's a humbling experience, and I truly do, and love all your listeners. So have a great day.
You too, man. Be safe. Talk to you soon. This is Kurt Mullett, y'all, from Hoosier Blue 63. Quick break. Listen to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago. And, of course, 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. When we come back, we'll be talking with Nathan Taylor. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the Planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters looking for the Union blockade. Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, letting Union soldiers board the ship, giving them guns, ammo, and documents about planned Confederate attacks. Being a wealth of information, Smalls was given the role of the Union Navy captain. Stories like Smalls are one of the many factors convincing President Lincoln to allow free African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 58. By Thursday, we'll see sunshine, a high of 71 degrees. Friday, plenty of blue skies and sun, a high of 83. Saturday, sunshine, high of 78 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 66.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, guys, welcome back to the show. Of course, our number here is 773-763-9278. And if you guys want to send me an email about anything that Kurt and I just talked about or that were items that we covered earlier in the show, of course, you can email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Okay. Voting right now is such a big conversation point and topic, and it's hugely personal to so many of us. But also voting sanctity or voting accuracy or voting correctness is a big part of our conversation right now. The Republicans are trying to say that the Dems are cheating and rigged and all this, when in fact there's a lot of evidence to show just the opposite, that that's not happening from the Dems, but it's seemingly or potentially happening from the Republicans. A person that's an expert in that space is the executive director of the public engagement with the Election Truth Alliance, none other than our man, Nathan Taylor. Good morning, Nathan, and welcome back to Choose Views.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I hope you're staying a little warm. It seems the weather has gone back and forth, but, happy to be here.
Yeah, man. We when in the upper Midwest, particularly and specifically here in Chicago, we go, all right, it's 75 degrees today. Tomorrow is 58. And I think we've finally cracked that. We've cracked the code now where I said to my wife over the weekend, I said, I think we reached that point where we settled in and we won't be dipping back into the 50s. We'll stay above 60. And then, of course, June 1st will hit. And Nathan, the switch will go on, and it'll be in the upper 80s, 90s, and humid for the next 90 days. But I'm not complaining. The one thing you'll never hear me complain about is the sun being out, because I'm just not going to do that. But, man, it's good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're well. And I know you have been busy as a cat on a hot tin roof lately because so much is coming at you. Bring us up to speed on some of your recent findings, some of the things that you're covering and working on when it comes to Election Truth Alliance.
Yes. So I don't remember exactly what we spoke about last time, but what the Election Truth Alliance has been working on recently is we do both data analysis of election behavior and we investigate the infrastructure we use to run our elections. And a lot of our work recently has been around publishing findings in the infrastructure and software of our voting systems that we're currently still using and any problems, on top of looking at the 24 election and the data there. And we've started analyzing and releasing recent election data as well. We've started digging into some of these recent special elections that have seemed to kind of do a 180 from the 24 election. And we have had to jump in to start looking at some of these recent, very impactful primaries across the U.S. And I will say we are starting to flag problems there as well. And, I can give you kind of a little overview of some of the things we're finding.
Yeah, because I know our listeners all over the country would be curious about that, because one of the big things that's happening, obviously, we've had wins. I say Democrats have had wins when it comes to some of these off-year special elections and these primaries. And I asked the question earlier this week, is the performance real? And our voters that are coming out, they're excited. Well, that's one part of the conversation. The other part of is the real, by definition, are there some shenanigans going on that you guys are finding? And if so, where are they coming from?
Yes. So the main concern we've been raising is when talking about election infrastructure. I'm not sure if you've seen some of the recent news just this last week around certain people and questions around, satellites and if they could be used to interact with election infrastructure because of public statements made during the 24 election. I can name names at this point. It is public. There's been some implication against Elon Musk and, the utilization of his satellites. And we kind of asked that question in one of our recent reports when analyzing some of the data we're finding around Pennsylvania, for example. And I think it's an interesting question, but not really a question we can answer right now. What I can say is the things we are finding with our election voting systems is that we're told they aren't connected to the internet and that they are secure. They're certified and they're tested before elections. And we're finding that might not actually be true and might not hold up to scrutiny. Some of the things we're finding is, and this has been documented on multiple occasions, the systems we're told that aren't connected to the internet, well, they have been found accessible online, 35 different systems across the U.S. at this point in the last few years. The precinct scanners in some places do have cellular modems in the most common voting brands that span at least 60% of the U.S. And now we've started to dig in and made this public where the scanners, the most leading software version that we use in the 24 election and we've used recently, that software version has started to come up with core vulnerabilities in the software that, if you knew what you were doing, could allow you to exploit the counting and the storing of votes, which is super important, because that is the other half of the battle. Is when we look at the data, we say, where do we see problems? And then we look at the systems and we say, well, how could you make problems? And that would be a very key component, is if the software isn't secure, that is an avenue for bad actors to come in and try and, make things happen.
So let me ask you this question, because I read the article and I've been, concern's not the right word, but just making sure we ring the alarm bell early rather than after. And this is one that is really, a lot of people haven't heard that much about. Talk about this this conversation with Ashley St. Clair, who she is, and her claim of implicating Elon Musk with regard to the 2024 election results, or the election counting, I guess is a better word.
So for those who are not familiar, Ashley St. Clair is a ex of Elon Musk. She has had a child with him. They were together during the 2024 election period. So leading up to and after the 24 election, that period. And so she's recently gone public and has started talking about the things she saw and she was told during the 24 election around Elon Musk. She does have text messages. I think at this point she's gone on multiple public appearances. My inbox was full. People were sending me clips of her and saying you should check this out and such. And some of the quotes that she talked about was Elon Musk telling her that he was going to unleash an anomaly in the matrix, and that he had, I believe, 10,000 lasers in space. And these are quotes that she was talking about. And, she kind of raised the concern of, well, he was saying this in regard to winning the election for now the current administration. And a lot of our focus has been on Pennsylvania, where he was potentially pivotal. Elon Musk was very involved in Pennsylvania. And that is where we had some direct quotes just after the 24 election, where during the pre-inauguration rally, President Trump was actually thanking Elon Musk because of how well they did in Pennsylvania, and because Elon Musk knows those vote counting computers, and they won Pennsylvania like in a landslide. This is important because, as we just talked about, we've been investigating the vote counting computers. We've been investigating the systems we use to count our votes. And we've been finding problems in Pennsylvania's voting behavior that we flag using the expert methodologies that have been used to look at Russian elections and flag cheating in Russian elections. Well, we're seeing some of the same effects in Pennsylvania for the 24 election, and we've started to now make public. We're seeing some of the same effects in some recent primaries that have been very interesting and pivotal, and we're about to release reports about that. So we've dug deep into Louisiana and some recent primaries there, where Republican candidates who spoke out against the administration actually lost their primaries. We analyzed that data, and we're making that public soon. In Kentucky as well, we've been looking there, and we'll have a report on that if we're finding anything weird as we go forward, because I think that's important. Is if there's a problem with the systems that count our votes, if they are vulnerable to manipulation through like technological means, we need to fix that immediately. We need investigations and we need answers, because the midterms are just around the corner.
So, Nathan, let's just use Pennsylvania as an example. We have a Democratic governor there. And then this is by design meant to be partisan, but not in a negative way. Partisan is not a bad thing. We have a Democratic governor there in Josh Shapiro. I think the last name that comes to me Sunday is the Attorney General, the Secretary of State. I can't come to mind, but what do you know about where they are in terms of these seemingly massive anomalies in the state of Pennsylvania? Just to use that as a highlighted example.
Yeah, so we've reached out at this point to leadership all across the country about the things we're finding and the systems we're using. Specifically, we talk about the number one voting brand that is used across the U.S. that doesn't get enough attention, and that is ES&S. And they span at least 60% of the U.S. The swing states specifically, like almost a majority of the swing states use ES&S to count their votes, all votes, hand-marked paper ballots, machine-marked paper ballots. And really, when we approach these election officials about these problems, it's a closed-door response. They're not willing to address any of the evidence or concerns we bring up. They're not willing to even talk about the, ways we could do better going forward, make better audits. It's really a little frustrating, and it's ironic because, as you know, the Election Truth Alliance is nonpartisan, and we're not well liked by either major political party because we come in with facts and we come in with data, and it doesn't really, one party, as you know, doesn't want to address problems with election concerns, and the other party, as you said, likes to point fingers. But the reality in the data we bring doesn't really fit either narrative. Yeah. And it's interesting the pushback we get, but at the end of the day, as you would expect, this is a problem that these election officials should be willing to address, because if it's addressed and addressed correctly, if we have investigations and if we have improvements, it's good for every American. Like counting of the votes, every American should care that our votes are being counted and counted correctly. And I think it's a little frustrating. I will say this. I think really the response we get from these election officials, a lot of these election officials don't have backgrounds in computer science, right? They're not statisticians. They're not, cybersecurity experts. They're politicians. They kind of do that. And so they rely on the people under them to tell them is, something good or not. Yeah. And what we're finding that these officials are being told by everyone underneath them that there's not a problem here. And the reality is we are finding problems. The problems we are finding are terrifying in nature because not only have we looked at the statistics and the data, we've been on the ground in some of these places. We've been on the ground in Florida and started finding issues that suggest that votes are being counted for voters in Florida that don't exist or may not even, have moved and are still having votes showing up. Mm-hmm. And it's things like that, you would think that everyone should care about making sure that's not happening, because that's been a big narrative point. But I think it's interesting, and it really comes down to, well, how can we leverage, change in a positive way here? Because we're not here to go after the governors or the secretaries of state. We're here to fix problems and to stop them from happening again. And I think that's important, is how can, people be aware of these issues? That's really what we're focused on now, is educating people. Here's what we're finding. Here's what we can do. Yeah. Nathan, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina, and now AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Nathan Taylor, the Director of Public Engagement at Election Truth Alliance. We'll be right back.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moretlawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Cats are masters at using up their 9 lives, like chasing laser pointers into walls or jumping onto high shelves. But the one thing cats never do, text while driving. So be like a cat and protect your one and only life. Don't text and drive.
Don't drive distracted.
A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Chew's Views with Richard Chew. Take it away, Richard.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is Chew's Views, and I'm Richard Chew. If you are listening in, we're talking with Nathan Taylor, who was a director of public engagement for Election Truth Alliance. Nathan, let's talk about this as we wrap up today. How is gerrymandering? And this is a big deal. Obviously, South Carolina and Alabama's courts said, nah, we're not going to snatch these seats. As of yesterday with Clyburn's seat in Alabama. But how, in your estimation and review, does gerrymandering impact election security and election integrity might be a better word?
As you are a little familiar, gerrymandering has been, throughout the last few years, a big topic in U.S. elections. Only recently, just this last year, has gerrymandering been a little more hands-off, and every state has started to do more impactful gerrymandering. I do think gerrymandering is a concern. A lot of what the ETA focuses on is, a little bit more of, are there problems with the counting of the votes? But gerrymandering is one where you can, potentially impact the where and who can vote, which is important.
Especially if it's partisan
gerrymandering. I think it is a concern. I think it's a concern, especially as we get closer to the midterms, when it comes down to, people being represented correctly. That is the big focus I think everyone should have, is how can we make sure our elections are giving everyone their right to vote and their vote be counted correctly. And gerrymandering is a way to potentially dilute districts and, not give people equal representation. I think an even more concerning thing that has come up on top of these issues around gerrymandering has been restricting certain types of voting. If you've seen a lot of that push recently, mail-in voting has come under attack. I think that's an important narrative as well, because that is another way that a vast majority of the U.S. has been voting. And if we were to get rid of mail-in voting, that would impact, for example, people who, may not be as healthy showing up to vote. That might impact people who, are more active, and you have a longer period to mail in your voting, and military as well. Personally, if you're overseas, having a military vote. Now, what's interesting, and I'll tie this kind of all together into the things we're doing as we go forward, is we've asked the question, if there's problems with the counting of our votes in the elections, if there's a compromise of the voting infrastructure, if someone's taking advantage of software vulnerabilities we're finding and messing with, how votes are counted, are we seeing that focused around any specific type of voting? And we've made this public, and we've documented this across multiple swing states at this point for the 24 election, and we've been investigating this in previous elections, like in 2020, by the way. And we have flagged that one of the things we are seeing is, when analyzing voting behavior for certain types of voting, mail-in voting looks far more normal. Like what all these experts who we've taken their methodologies say should be normal human voting behavior, mail-in looks far more normal. It looks far more what we would expect to see. And that's interesting, because so much of the vote during the 2020 election was mail-in voting. I know, for example, like Pennsylvania, for President Biden at the time when he won Pennsylvania in 2020, was, I think, 70% of his vote may have been mail-in voting alone. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting to see how mail-in voting was such a big piece of the 2020 election, and we saw mail-in voting drop back down in 2024, and we've started to flag that if mail-in voting looks more normal, the places that we're seeing a lot of the problems and abnormalities in the voting behavior is in Election Day and in early voting, in-person voting, which is where a lot of the push is to go right now, is to get rid of mail-in and just go single-day voting, which is interesting to us.
Well, because if you think about it, I guess the counterintuitive part of this is the area or the category of voting that seems to have the least, issue or garbage or fraud or integrity issue is the one that in 2020, and we knew this, had a proportionately higher amount of voting, less issues. Let's take that away. And the one that would be more susceptible to issues, let's increase that or make that more the norm. And it's sort of counterintuitive to what's working, and if I'm reading you somewhat correctly.
Yeah. So here's some facts. The chain of custody of mail-in voting is higher than Election Day. Generally speaking, mail-in voting is a multi-part process.
Mm-hmm.
You ask the county for a ballot. In many places, you have to ask for a mail-in ballot. The county will send it to you. You will fill it out. You'll send a copy of your ID. Some places will even actually have to have you have a witness co-sign or, provide additional documentation as well. So you have to have some places 2 people, and then you send it back. And so you get a stronger chain of custody because the county now knows, here's the amount of ballots I just sent out.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the amount of ballots I got back. And here's the total votes for those mail-in ballots.
And there had to be something that was a checkpoint, another checkpoint along the way,
right,
to make sure that what I sent out and what came back was good stuff. And to use a simple word,
it's all on paper.
Yeah,
it's all on paper. It's documented. At any point, you can review it. And we're finding that is not the case for in-person voting, Election Day or early voting, where a vast majority of the time you show up. If you check in, some places will just have you check in digitally with a poll book,
mm-hmm.
and then you'll cast your vote and you leave.
Right.
And there's not that kind of multi-step process, and there's not that chain of custody where the county knows how many people actually showed up to vote if you could compromise the systems.
If you can. So
then in-person voting doesn't have that stronger chain of custody. And, for example, we highlighted this in our lawsuit in Pennsylvania and Cambria County for 2024. They actually had all of their voting machines fail on Election Day,
mm-hmm.
had to hand duplicate around 65,000 ballots. And then when they got their systems working later in the day, they fed those duplicated ballots into the machines. And this is what's interesting, is they said they hand duplicated 65,000 ballots. But when they fed them in the machines, the Election Day votes for Cambria County only show around 55,000 votes. So you're missing almost 10,000 votes or ballots that never showed up. And it's things like that where there's not enough of a chain of custody there, where if you're not doing extra steps, you may not know how many people showed up to vote if someone's messing with the systems. And that's, I think that's a concern we've been raising, is how can we make sure that the amount of people who are showing up and engaging with our elections are having their votes cast in person, and if there's problems with the systems and the way we track things there.
Yeah. Nathan, as we wrap up, let folks know how they can find you, how they can follow you, and get involved in whatever way possible with Election Truth Alliance.
Yes. So Election Truth Alliance right now, we are 100% grassroots funded, by the way, volunteer. So I think we have over 50 volunteers working with us currently across the U.S. If you want to help out, if you want to spread the word, you can go to electiontruthalliance.org. We put up our reports. We also have a YouTube channel, so Election Truth Alliance on YouTube, and a Substack. So if you want to help out, really right now, really what we're pushing for is just educating people. So sharing the things we're finding, the data we're finding, and the concerns, and the facts around the systems. If you want to throw us a $5 donation, which is all I ever ask for, I hate asking people for money. You can go to electiontruthalliance.org/donate. At this point, we've raised over $200,000 to do this work, and it's important because we've spent over $60,000 at this point in legal fees alone in Pennsylvania and other places we're working on. So we are 100% supported. I think our average donation is like $30. Yeah. So this is the type of work that doesn't pay. And I'll be honest, I couldn't ask for anything else. I'm here to fight this fight. The ETA is here to fight this fight. And I think it's important because the people we expected to step up and prevent problems with our elections, we feel like there's a lot of problems that aren't being addressed. So here we are. Yeah. And that's what we do.
Thanks for being with us, Nathan. We always appreciate you sliding in and hanging out. So Election Truth Alliance, get with them, guys. Do what you can to support the work. Nathan, thanks for being with us. We'll have you back again soon. Sound good?
Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you soon. All right, guys, that's it for today. Wow, we made it to the end. Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And as always, take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
Amazon Business. With smart business buying, innovative AI tools optimize your purchasing experience paired with delivery options built for business. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update. Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter. This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Skies will become mostly sunny here for today with a high into the mid-80s. Winds out of the northeast around 5 to 10 miles per hour. And then for tonight, mostly clear with a low near 58. By Thursday, we'll see sunshine, a high of 71 degrees. Friday, plenty of blue skies and sun, a high of 83. Saturday, sunshine, high of 78 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
For the longest time, it was hard for me to even get out of the house, much less do a backside 180. That's when I made the call. With my doctor's help, I was diagnosed with anxiety. Now I'm finding better ways to cope. Sure, some days are better than others, but the whole thing about getting out of the house, that's not really an issue anymore. Mental health care works when you make the call.
See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
When I first had Jordan, I'd get comments all the time about how happy I must be. I remember thinking, there must be something wrong with me because I don't feel all this joy I'm supposed to be feeling. That's when I made the call. My doctor told me I have postpartum depression, and treatment is available. These days, things are feeling right, even if they don't always go that way. Mental health care works when you make the call.
See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
I lost count of how many foster homes I lived in. 20, maybe more. Each time, a new room, a new bed, a new routine with a new family. But never a space that really felt like mine. Eventually, I didn't even bother unpacking, because moving again was never an if. It was always a when.
There are more than 100,000 children in foster care waiting to be adopted. The Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption is working to help find them a forever family and a permanent home of their own.
When I was 15, I didn't have anywhere to go for the holidays. So my high school principal invited me to stay with his family. It was just supposed to be for a few weeks, but soon they asked me to stay forever as their daughter. Now I have my own room and decorated it myself. It's kind of a tornado, but it's my tornado. And just like my family, it's mine to keep.
If you have room in your home or your heart, see how you can help at davethomasfoundation.org.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. A Trump endorsement is helping Ken Paxton to win a GOP primary runoff for the U.S. Senate in Texas. More from Mark Mayfield.
Speaking to reporters Tuesday night, the state attorney general praised his opponent, incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn.
John has dedicated much of his life to serving Texas. He's worked diligently for years to help Texas. And for that spirit of service to the Lone Star State and our nation, I'm very grateful. Thank you, John.
It was just last week that President Trump announced his endorsement of Paxton, effectively turning the race on its head. Cornyn was seeking his fifth term, while Paxton represents what some see as a more MAGA loyalist candidate in a race that has divided Republicans. Paxton will face Democratic State Representative James Tallarico in the November midterms.
9 people are still missing after a large chemical tank ruptured at a paper mill in southwestern Washington state. A 900,000-gallon tank holding corrosive chemicals imploded Tuesday morning in the town of Longview, that's just north of Portland, Oregon, killing at least one person. Cowlitz 2 Fire and Rescue Chief Scott Goldstein says a tragedy of this size affects everyone in a small community.
The people who are responders here have friends and relatives that work on site. It is something that is impactful, and we have support networks to support the workers as well as the emergency responders.
On Tuesday night, officials announced they were suspending recovery operations for the workers who are still missing. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is making headlines again for grabbing an animal. A viral video on Tuesday showed the Health and Human Services Secretary cornering 2 snakes on the patio of a Florida home and picking them up with his bare hands, and his wife begging him to put them down. Earlier this month, Kennedy posted a photo of himself grabbing a bird, which he said he rescued at Washington Dulles Airport. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
The Sports Cubicle. Economics professor at Smith College, Massachusetts, Andrew Zimbalist.
When Chicago is approached, or Illinois is approached for new public funds to build yet another stadium, it shouldn't be, hey, this is going to be an economic boon for the city. It's not going to be. It should be, how much is it worth to us culturally to keep these teams here?
The Sports Cubicle with Mike Mercado, Devin Tingle, Dan Marver, and Paul Shivari. Sunday nights, 9 p.m. on WCPT.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.